مساء الخير. Good afternoon, everybody. Classic reminder for cell phones, please to be turned off during the ceremony. Your Excellency, Minister of Education, Dr. Hassan Mneimneh, Your Excellency, Minister of Information, Tarek Mitri, AUB President, Dr. Peter Dorman, President of the World Alumni Association of AUB, Ambassador Khalil Makkawi, honored guests, Ahla wa sahla fikum. It is a most humbling moment for me to be standing here before you this afternoon to welcome you to our inaugural literary festival here at AUB. UNESCO's nomination of our beloved city, Beirut, as book capital of the world is nearing its end. Perhaps our celebration here this afternoon is misk al-khitam, the icing on the cake, the sweet ending to a wonderful year of celebrations marking the occasion. When we embarked on this project, we at AUB and the Programs Committee of the WAAAUB, we knew that this university would be the cradle for the majority of the writers and their books that gave Beirut this title. Sadiq Jalal Al-Azam, Samir Khalaf, Ilyas Khouri, Raymond Khouri, Sami Makarim, Marwan Mashir, Emily Nasrallah, Amin Albert Rihani, Kamal Salibi, Ghada Samman, Ghassan Twaini. Your names are part of our conscience, engraved in our collective memory. You are our heritage, our legacy of noble thought, our sanctuary. You have created the modern history of Lebanon, indeed, the history of Arabia. You gave us an Arab center and a promise of moderation. From this campus and its main gate, you started out opening before us the gates of the city, reaching towards the gates of the sun. You are the vanguards of multiculturalism and Arab American literature, defenders of the critique of religious thought. You have argued that the Bible came from Arabia and uncovered the secrets of its people. You dared to ask, who was Jesus, the sign, or the last Templar? And when Lebanon's predicament set in, and we found ourselves at the crossroads to civil war, it was your pen that helped us see Beirut reclaimed and recovered. And you said, laissez vivre mon peuple. For the occasion, I would like to say something in Arabic. اسمحوا لي أقول شيء بالعربي للمناسبة. كتابنا الكرام، نحتفل بكم من قلب بيروت بطقوس مائية ومرايا متعاكسة، بقصائد حب على شاطئ مرآة، بطيور أيلول في شجرة الدفلة، بعشبة المدائن. أيها الكرام، من هذا المنبر نعلن عليكم الحب، نوقد الجمر الغافي، نعود لنراجع تلك الذكريات الرهينة والينابيع المنسية. في ليل الغرباء أنتم ضوء في مدينة الضباب، واليوم نجد أنفسنا في رحلة عصر على متن قطار بلا محطة. May I please ask our honored authors and all the AUB alumni authors participating in this festival, this inaugural literary festival, all of you here with us in this hall this afternoon, please stand. ladies and gentlemen, esteemed authors, alumni of AUB, we salute your thought, your philosophy, your history, your courage, your passion, your patriotism, your poetry, and your stories. And we welcome you back to AUB. At this point, I would like to present to you Ambassador Khalil Makkawi, President of the World Alumni Association of AUB. Ambassador Makkawi graduated from AUB with a BA degree in 1954. He currently resides in Beirut and has held the title of the President of WAAAUB, AUB's Worldwide Alumni Association, since 2007. Since then, under his able leadership and patient guidance, we have witnessed WAAAUB prosper and thrive. He was president of AUB Scholarship Fundraising Committee from 2001 to 2007. Ambassador Makkawi has a master's degree from Cairo University and a PhD from Columbia University. He was Lebanon's ambassador to the United Nations, Germany, Great Britain and Ireland, and Italy, and Lebanon's permanent representative to the UN FAO in Rome. Dr. Makkawi.
Your Excellency Minister Mneimneh, Your Excellency Minister Tarek Mitri, President Dorman, dear alumni, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome all of you to the ceremony to honor 11 distinguished AUB alumni authors, 6 of whom are with us this afternoon. In addition to these men and women, on this occasion, we also recognize the work of all AUB alumni authors everywhere. Although these 11 men and women are only a small sample of more than 60,000 AUB alumni who live and work in more than 100 countries around the world, they are in many ways a wonderful microcosm of that wider community. They represent the values and experiences that all AUB alumni, author and non-authors alike share. Our alumni authors have written and continue to write that inform us, make us laugh and cry, cause us to think and reflect, shape our opinions and challenge our prejudices, and bring us comfort and joy. We are proud to have this opportunity to honor the contributions they have made, not just to cultural life in general, but also the very real and very personal contribution they make to enrich each one of our lives. It is a testament to AUB that it counts so many remarkable authors among its alumni. Although some of them are no longer with us, they live on in their work that influences our social, educational, cultural, and political life. I'm thinking of people like Omar Abu Rishi, Yusuf Ibish, Malcolm Kerr, Charles Malik, Constantine Zré, Shafiq El-Hout, Anis Freyha, Philippe Hitti, Emile Ghattas, Hisham Sharabi, Fuad Khouri, Iliya Harik, etc., etc. I could go on, and there are others who are still with us, contributing to our knowledge in so many fields. People like Hanan Ashrawi, Eli Salim, Charles Hostler, Shafiq Jiha, and Ramzi Baalbaki. We honor them all, the people I have named and those I have not named. We know that there are many others who are not known to us now. We look forward to getting in touch with them too. In fact, one of the reasons that we organized this event was so that we could learn more about our alumni and identify the authors among them. These events are an integral part of AUB commitment to serve and unite its alumni in support of the university. We are very proud of what we have already accomplished to strengthen alumni chapters, unite our alumni, strengthen the ties between AUB and its alumni, and harness some of the resources of the university to benefit its alumni. We at WAAAUB believe that a more dynamic, energetic, and united alumni community benefits all alumni, all AUB alumni, and AUB as well. So at events like this, when we celebrate alumni authors, we also celebrate AUB. Today and tomorrow, we will discuss and enjoy the work of more than 60 alumni authors who have written poems, novels, scientific texts, academic manuals, and peer-reviewed articles about a rich diversity of subjects. Although many of the books that are displayed in the exhibit and we will still discuss during the various sessions on Friday may be familiar to you, I hope this occasion will also be an opportunity for you to make some new discoveries as well. I also hope that this occasion will be the first of many AUB alumni literary festivals, not just on campus, but around the world wherever AUB alumni authors live. I thank you.
May I please present to you now Dr. Dorman, Peter Dorman, President of AUB.
Thank you, Khada, and thank you, Ambassador Makkawi, and a warm welcome to Their Excellencies, Minister Hassan Mneimneh and Minister Tarek Mitri, and as well as to all of our illustrious honorees and their distinguished guests. I am enormously honored to be here with all of you at this inaugural festival, celebrating the literary accomplishments of our distinguished alumni. Based in countries spanning the globe, writing poetry and prose, fiction and nonfiction in Arabic, English, and French, the authors we salute today are a talented and a richly diverse group. At this year's opening ceremony, in a speech exploring the concepts underlying a liberal arts education, I mentioned that higher education is not utilizable only in an economic sense. It seeks to provide an understanding of the ways in which the human mind has inquired and continues to inquire into its own self-awareness. This type of inquiry is not limited to literature and other public works, but it is through the written word that what we strive to understand and clarify is made accessible to the wider world and is built upon by others. Those being honored here today are ones who do this beneficent act of knowledge transfer supremely well and who demonstrate the intangible utility of a liberal arts education. Reading the short biographies of these authors, it is interesting to note the array of graduate and undergraduate majors undertaken at AUB, and that several went on to careers not directly related to their field of study. In fact, many have gone on to excel in a multiplicity of disciplines in addition to their writing activities, including business, diplomacy, and education. These alumni represent much of what we hope to accomplish at AUB, to cultivate creative thinkers, producers of knowledge, and active contributors to society. Continuous improvement is a major goal of most university administrations, and this means that I and my colleagues are primarily engaged in looking forward. We re-examine what has been done in the past in order to do things better in the future. In this sense, it is always gratifying and reaffirming to relish the triumphs of those who have come before. And occasions such as this offer us an opportunity to honor the achievements of our graduates. I know there are many other authors who are equally deserving of our praise and who could not be included in this inaugural festival, but I'm sure that there will be opportunities in the future to recognize many more of our alumni literati. My sincere thanks goes to Ghada Rahani and Arabia Muhammad Ali and their dedicated teams for conceptualizing and coordinating this impressive event. And my hearty congratulations in particular to the authors being honored today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dorman. To be recognized by you is indeed an honor. At this point, I would like to ask to the stage His Excellency Dr. Hassan Mneimneh, Minister of Education, for a few words.
السيدات والسادة، شرف لي أن أكون معكم في حفل تكريم شخصيات هذا الحفل الذين كانوا وما زالوا كبار الفكر والأدب والإعلام والإبداع العلمي في لبنان والعالم العربي. كان سلاح هؤلاء هو الكلمة الكاسرة لسلطة الكلام المباح والعابرة لأسوار المعنى المألوف والمحطمة لأصنام الرتابة. هم أصحاب نفوس تعطي ولا تبالي أن تأخذ وتبذل ما عندها من دون أن يعنيها المدح أو الشكر. كانوا مدفوعين بروح الاكتشاف التي تفكك البديهي وتعريه وتنتشل الخصوبة من براثن العقم والعفن والارتكاس وتضيء لك الحقائق التي لم تلحظها من قبل على الرغم من أنها موجودة دائما أمام أعيننا، وتزيح الغطاء عن اللامفكر فيه لاجتراح آفاق تفكير جديدة، وتفتح لك عوالم جديدة تحيط بك من كل جانب، تحس معها أنها تريد الوصول إليك أينما كنت وحينما كنت، وتدعوك للإنصات لنغمات تراكيبها التي تشعر معها أنك تكتشف نفسك من جديد. ليس غريبا أن تكون بداية هؤلاء الكبار العلمية والمعرفية في الجامعة الأمريكية في بيروت، التي انطلقت مع بدايات النهضة العربية وواكبت مسيرتها ورفدتها بهامات فكرية وعلمية كان لها الأثر الأكبر في التحولات السياسية والفكرية في لبنان والعالم العربي. فمن هذه الجامعة بدأت شرارات الوعي القومي العربي والتأطيرات النظرية والفكرية والسياسية لها، وداخل هذا الصرح احتدم الجدل الخصب حول هوية الكيان اللبناني ومعالمه الحضارية وسماته الذاتية ومكوناته الثقافية وقواعد حكمه لنفسه. هذه الجامعة كانت رائدة في ميادين وحقول متعددة، وما تزال حتى يومنا هذا صرح المعرفة والتعليم العالي في لبنان الذي نباهي به ونسمن عاليا مخرجاته ونتاجاته، ونعتبره ثمرة من ثمار الروح اللبنانية المليئة بطاقات الخلق وحس الاقتدار، التي لا نبالغ بالقول أنها أضافت نكهة وذوقا خاصين إلى العالم كله عبر اللبنانيين الذين انتشروا في بقاع الأرض وأرسوا فوق أكثر بقيعها خبرات إنسانية تفيض بالحياة. أيها السادة، يعيش بلدنا اليوم تحديات كبيرة على الصعيد الخارجي والداخلي، فالتلويح بالاعتداء الإسرائيلي على لبنان ما زال اللغة اليومية للمسؤولين الصهاينة، والواقع السياسي في لبنان لا يزال بحاجة إلى دينامية داعمة لورشة الإصلاح والإنماء الشاملة التي أطلقتها الحكومة الحالية برئاسة الشيخ سعد الحريري. وهذا لا يتحقق إلا بتعاون الجميع وارتفاعهم فوق حساباتهم الشخصية أو الحزبية أو المذهبية أو الطائفية أو التزاماتهم الخارجية، وفي رفع مستوى الجدل السياسي الذي لا يزال للأسف يعيش من حين إلى آخر تدنيا في مستوى بعض التصريحات والمواقف التي تهدف إلى صرف الانتباه عن تحديات الوطن ومصالحه الحقيقية. رهان القوة التي لدينا لا يزال في الرؤية المتوازنة التي تنظر إلى الأمور نظرة ترابط وانسجام، فلا يقدم عنصر على آخر أو يلغيه، بل تشترك العناصر كلها في نظام تركيبي موحد، وتتقدم مجتمعة لخلق واقع فاعل رادعا للعدو من جهة وموفر سبل الحياة الكريمة من جهة أخرى. وهذا لا يكون بل من المستحيل أن يتحقق إلا إذا كانت الدولة الجامعة نقطة ارتكاز وقطب رحى لأي مشروع قوة أو دعوة للتحديث أو مسعى للرفاه. إنها الناظم الذي بدونه تتشظى الهوية الوطنية وتستحيل انتماءاتنا عصبيات مغلقة، وتتحول طموحاتنا مشاريع خاصة وإيديولوجيات خاوية. أيها السادة، نعتز بالذين نكرمهم اليوم، هم المجد الصافي الذي نتذكره ونعلمه لأولادنا، هم تاريخنا الخلاق الذي يسابق حاضرنا ومستقبلنا، هم الزاد في زمن الجوع والضوء في زمن العتمة، واليقظة الكاملة في لحظات اليأس. الشكر كل الشكر للقائمين على هذا الحدث، والتحية لكم ولجميع الحضور. عشتم، عاش الإبداع اللبناني وعاش لبنان.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We shall proceed with our program for the evening tonight, introducing our honored guests. Rosanne Saad Khalaf and Paul Salem will take over the program from this moment on. Rosanne Saad Khalaf is Assistant Professor of English and Creative Writing at AUB. In 1997, she designed and taught the first creative writing courses at AUB. She is the author and editor of 5 books, among them Transit Beirut, a 2003 collection of literary snapshots from today's Beirut, Hikayat, short stories by Lebanese women in 2006, and most recently, Arab Society and Culture in 2009, which she co-edited with Samir Khalaf. Her experience spans creative, academic, and editorial work in Lebanon, as well as in the US and the UK. Paul Salem probably needs no introduction to most of you here this afternoon. He is the director of the Carnegie Middle East Center in Beirut. He pursued his undergraduate and graduate studies at Harvard University, receiving his PhD in political science from there in 1987. He taught at the American University of Beirut between 87 and 99. He is the founder and former director of the Lebanese Center for Policy Studies, Lebanon's first policy think tank. He was also the director of the Faris Foundation. Dr. Salem is the author of several books, studies, and articles on Lebanon and the Arab world, dealing with various aspects of governance, development, and political culture, including bitter legacy, ideology, and politics in the Arab world, conflict resolution in the Arab world. He has written for the New York Times, the Financial Times, and other Western papers, as well as Arab and Lebanese papers. He is a frequent commentator on Arab and international media. Dr. Salem was on the review board of the UNDP Arab Human Development Report and a primary author in the World Bank's study on governance in the Arab world. He is a founding member of several advocacy NGOs in Lebanon, including the Lebanese Association for Democratic Elections, the Lebanese Transparency Association, and the Lebanese Conflict Resolution Network. In 2005-2006, he was a member of the National Commission for Electoral Law Reform in Lebanon. I give the floor now to Paul Salim.
مساء الخير معالي الوزير منيمني, معالي الوزير متري, President Dorman, distinguished honorees, good evening. Our first honoree tonight is a man of courage, a champion of reason, secularism, and enlightenment, speaking truth to power, a man who raised issues that others did not dare to raise, an Arab thinker, Syrian by birth, Arab by commitment, universal in vision, a true intellectual pioneer. I mean Dr. Sadiq Jalal Al-Azm. An expert on Immanuel Kant, he turned the light of reason onto the Arab condition and published a clarion call for enlightenment and action after the defeat of 1967. Then followed it up with a courageous critique of religious thinking in 1969. The proof of the power of his ideas is that the powers that be prevailed upon the Lebanese authorities to jail him for his audacity. Would that more of us would have such powerful and timely ideas that by their simple publication would shake an entire hegemonic traditional power structure. Dr. Azm is a world authority on the philosophy of the German Enlightenment thinker Immanuel Kant, and a leading voice of reason, tolerance, and reform in the Arab world. He has taught at AUB, Damascus University, and various universities in Europe and the United States. He is the recipient of numerous international awards, including, most recently, the Erasmus Prize for contributions to culture and society. He is an example and a role model to thinkers and activists around the region and around the world, and certainly one of my intellectual heroes. Please join me in welcoming and celebrating Dr. Sadiq Jalal Al-Azm. Would Dr. Azm please come forward to receive his plaque? Dr. Azm would like to share with us a few of his words and thoughts.
Thank you very much, Paul, for this somewhat exaggerated introduction. Excellencies, Tarek Mitri, Minister of Information, Minister of Education, Dr. Mneimneh, President Dorman, Dr. Makkawi, colleagues, dear colleagues, and ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed with deep gratitude that I receive this honor bestowed on me by the worldwide AUB Alumni Association and ipso facto by my alma mater herself. This is doubly satisfying as the honor comes first on the occasion of declaring Beirut World Book Capital for the current academic year of 2009-2010. After Beirut had succeeded in imposing itself for the longest time and continues to impose itself as the Arab book capital sans rival. And second, as it comes on the occasion of the inauguration of AUB's Alumni Literary Festival, where prominent AUB alumni authors are recognized. Let me emphasize here that, at least for myself, this satisfaction is not only private and personal, but has big significance for our public spheres, for wider and wider cultural circles, and for the domain of the intellect in general. When I say this, I have in mind such currently insistent calls and cries as the death of the author, the end of literature, the demise of writing, the irrelevance of authorial intent, the evaporation of meaning, and so on. But here we are honoring not only authors who are very alive and kicking in more than one sense of the term, but who through their determined authorial intent, through their writing, through their books, through their intellectual and literary productions, have certainly made a difference and generated a lot of meaning. Made a difference by, as Minister Mneimneh has indicated, by breaking taboos, transgressing sanctified restrictions, extending the spaces of informed debate and of free discussion, crisscrossing borders, and certainly exploring different and more adequate ways of seeing, appropriating, and acting on the surrounding social, cultural, and natural world in which we are all embedded. In the history courses I once took at AUB, I learned about the sick man of Europe, you remember him, and about the Eastern question. Obviously, the man is still very sick, and the Eastern question has not been transcended right into the 20th century, in spite of the changes in labels and names. And surely enough, the authorial intent of our authors made a difference, at least in better comprehending these two persisting, obstinate, and anachronistic conditions. I thank you all for assisting in this ceremony, and I thank you all for your attention, and I thank the AUB Worldwide Alumni Association for the honor.
Our next honoree is Dr. Samir Khalaf. Thinker, searcher, writer, rebel, mentor, and friend. A leading sociologist working today, bridging theory and practice, high intellect and assiduous field research, searching the present and the past, helping us to understand the future. He has done pioneering work on sexuality and society, prostitution and Protestantism, not topics usually joined in one career, civil and uncivil war, and has been the prime inquisitor, investigator, and explicator of the maddening and gladdening city that we all call mother and home, the city of Beirut. His is a rich and prolific career. His books, such as Sexuality in the Arab World, Beirut Reclaimed, Cultural Resistance, Persistence and Change in 19th Century Lebanon, and many others, have broken new ground in understanding the body, the city, the self, the past, and war. He has been a precious presence at the American University of Beirut, as well as Princeton University, has inspired and mentored generations of students, and has had a strong influence on other thinkers and scholars. I have known Dr. Khalaf and his lovely wife, Roseanne, and their two wonderful boys, George and Ramsey, for many years. His commitment to thought, to truth, to intellectual curiosity, productivity, and vigor have all been guiding lights, and his friendship has been ever valuable. Please join me in welcoming and honoring Dr. Samir Khalaf.
I'm really touched by this occasion. I'm also touched by what my friend Paul has just said. I will not be exaggerating if I say that this is really a milestone in the history of AUB. Since I know this history perhaps more than anybody else, this is the first time an academic sanctuary of this magnitude has remembered to honor the colleagues, the few of us who continue to produce and who continue to inspire our students. I don't want to thank Ambassador Makkawi and his team. It has been done, and I don't want to waste time doing that. And I want to speak a bit casually, a bit personally, because for the past few days, I started thinking about my career, and an occasion like this prompts you for some soul searching. Why am I being honored? I suppose, in simple terms, I'm lucky and I am privileged. I am lucky because very early in my life, I discovered the joy, the passion, the enchantment in writing. I remember summers where all we did is write letters, something this generation has completely, washed aside. And very early, I said, well, look, this passion I must impart to generations of students as well. I'm also privileged because throughout my schooling and experience in academic settings, from prep, as it used to be called, AUB, Princeton, Harvard, I also spent few summers, at Copenhagen, I have been privileged, really, to have good mentors, people who became role models to me and who inspired me to continue to write because they took interest in what I'm writing. I recall, for example, Albert Hourani reacted to the first 3 papers I wrote, and from then on, I never dared to send a paper before he said, Samir, you can go ahead. You know, I also had my mentor at Princeton, Mauro Berger, who told me, look, Samir, you're better than what you produce. Go back to the board. I have Edward Said, who said, Samir, stop writing professional essays. Write, you know, subjective, intuitive. And I did. And I dedicated the book to him. So throughout my career, I was really blessed by what I call colleagues and not comrades. This is a topic I will not address here. I'm also privileged to have been the recipient of many awards which kept me free in summer. In fact, I want to confess to all of you, I've been teaching for more than 50 years. I never taught in summer. You know, and this is something, again, at one point I want to address now that we're starting to celebrate writers. Perhaps the university should consider, you know, doing away with the summer school. And maybe we can, as a result, celebrate more people who could be engaged in writing rather than simply teaching 2 courses of 201 in the summer. Anyway, I promised my wife not to do the sort of thing I'm doing now, so I will. But really, looking back with the benefit of hindsight, I cannot help but marvel really how almost my entire life, especially during the past 2 years, has been totally absorbed in writing. In fact, I fantasize about it. I had our younger son, Ramzi. Like me, he wakes up early in the morning because he was a singer and a dancer. And one day, he was barely 7 years old, he asked me a question that I've never forgotten. Daddy, what gives you goose flesh? He wanted to know whether the goose flesh I get to wake up in the morning and write is like the goose flesh he gets when he's singing and dancing. And I ask these questions to my students. What gives you goose flesh? And many of them do not associate whether the creative activities they're engaged in is a source of this joy. Now, this is why, at least to me, writing has not been a source of academic and professional validation or an expression of intellectual imagination and all these things we talk about. It has become, and I'm lucky to say so, a hobby, a recreation, a carefree kind of leisure and recreative activities that I look forward to. Just like I look forward to jogging, hitting tennis with my son George, or gardening, or doing, you know, other, you know, intimate things that I do not want to. But somehow, when you make this link, you become addicted to what you're doing, and you begin to worry about withdrawal symptoms. I tell Roseanne and my 2 boys, I worry about the withdrawal symptoms. What will happen to me when I cannot write anymore? I recall when we were fixing our house, Mneimneh al-Blat, all Mneimneh Blat in Lebanon are from Site B. And he told me once something that I do not really forget. He says, Doctor, I go to sleep thinking, كيف بدي أحط البلاط فوق التالي. Now, and I say, what happens to all of us, not in AUB, but in Lebanon, if all of us go at night to bed thinking about how can I create something more meaningful? How can I stretch my sentence? How can I do something that is essentially enabling? I think AUB, like Lebanon, will be far more richer. So think of Ma'allim blood, and how do you... now, I also must confess that because of my Puritan upbringing, and I'm glad Dr. Dorman is here, my mother's playmate was Anna Jessup. The Jessups went every summer and lived in LA, and my mother acquired all the Protestant ethics of hard work, discipline, cold showers, and all that, but somehow which were imparted to all of us. As I often say in my writing, many people in Lebanon became Protestants by lifestyle without being, you know, Protestant. Sadiq is a Protestant, you know, Dalal is a Protestant, Hassan Twaini is a Protestant, because they acquired these, you know, habits of work, which we all, anyway, very early in my life, writing, academic work became a moral, dutiful fulfillment that gives you bliss, that gives you redemption, that elevate your sense of grace. Here I remember a beautiful book, McLean, Dorman McLean, A River Runs Through It. We all remember the film, but it's a Puritan teaching his son how to fly fish, how to get trout. And in one passage of the book, he says, trout, like anything else in life, gives you redemption, gives you grace. Grace comes by art, but art does not come easy, i.e., you have to focus. Like Orhan Pamuk, in one passage he said, he quoted his grandmother telling him, as if you are digging a well in a needle. And this kind of state of mind, once you acquire it, even Nietzsche, I don't know, I mean, came to mind in his Twilight of the Idols, where he argues that that passion needs, that passion needs and is needed by asceticism, by self-control. Hence, the link between the passion and the control becomes. So, in my life, a good day of writing makes me feel alive, makes me feel spirited, focused, even at times invincible. And this is what I don't mind saying. It is my not only Prozac, but it's also my Viagra. I mean, both. It keeps you at ease, but she said it's enough, you know. But no, but let me be a bit more serious. Look, for every Mozart, we have millions of Benjamin Franklins. No? And all of us here are Benjamin Franklins, unless your neurotransmitters, like Mozart, are wired to make you creative in spite of yourself. These are very rare. And this is why, in my own career as a sociologist, I have faced really three, and I'll be very brief here, three compelling problems which made me what I am. First, I live in an oral culture. I remember my son George, the first time I talked to him, he says, "Daddy, I don't take you seriously. Write it to me." And it's only when we write we become, you know, we derive our sense of our identity. And this is why, very early in my life, I had two teachers, Musa Sulaiman and IC. Every time I كنا نكتب إنشاء يحط لي بالآخر نفسك قصير, i.e., I am short-winded. Richard Yortke, who taught me English here, said, "Samir, you are long-winded." So here, I had to reconcile. I live in a culture where I am doomed by one as being short-winded, cursed by the other as being long-winded. So how do you reconcile the two became a problem, and I had to cope with that. Second, a more important problem is I'm a social scientist, and as Paul also suggested, I'm a humanist. And as a social scientist, you're supposed to be rational, purposive. You're supposed to dissociate yourself from your passions. But as a humanist, you're supposed to be expressive, to dramatize. But how can you be honest to both? I found my answer in another hero of mine, Max Weber. And Max Weber said, look, the secret of our success as thinkers is to avoid two things. Don't be a specialist without a soul, and don't be a sensualist without a heart. So you know, reconciling our heads and hearts when we are writing becomes very, very important. And finally, the whole futility of writing. We always run the risk, as I often say, of adding insight to injury. The more insightful we are, the graver the injury, the more impotent we become in solving it. So where do you hide? Where do you take shelter? Those who can, and many of us in this room do. Those who cannot do, like I am, you know, and suffer enough because we can't, we write. But how do you resolve this futility of writing, because it becomes simply a proxy act for not being able to do anything else? But what I want to say, to thank everybody here, is that your award tonight is a momentous for me for at least 3 reasons. First, that I have been good enough to deserve it. Like a Ma'allim al-Amar, like a Nijar, if I'm supposed to make a chair, in the judgment, I have made a good chair. But more important, it allays the pang of the futility of writing. Really, and this is where occasionally those of us who are engaged in this vocation and avocation, we need these symbolic gestures, which are not very costly. Again, I promised Roseanne not to needle my administrators, but the first time I went with George to Swarthmore, he took me through the library, and all I saw, pictures of professors. I dare you, walk through all the campus in AUB and find me a picture of a professor. You find many administrators, many bureaucrats, some were good, some were not, but they're celebrated. It's time that we begin to recognize the unsung heroes and heroines who have been doing, to me, an enormous job in being a source of stimulation and inspiration. Thank you very much. Thank you.